Sometimes I wish we could go back to a time when things weren't so complicated.
Welcome to the complexity of toilet paper, the podcast that dives into the everyday moments where we overthink, hesitate, or just get stuck.
I'm overthinking. I'm overthinking.
Let's hear it for the toilet paper!
Through honest conversations, unexpected insights, and a whole lot of humor, your hosts Phyllis Martin, Mark Pollock, and Al Emmerich are here to help you roll with it and make your life a little less complicated. One conversation at a time.
That's right, dude. The beauty of this is its simplicity.
Speaking of which, it's time to enter the stall. Put the lid down, or not, depending. Get comfortable, and roll with it.
Oh, worry not, dear friend. It's really quite simple.
This is the complexity of toilet paper.
In a world where everyone is someone and someone is everywhere, where are you? What are you? This is the voice of the movie trailer guy, otherwise known as Al Emmerich, the brand that is the voice. Are you mesmerized by the melodious tones grooving in your earballs? I hope so, because today we're talking branding.
What's an earball?
I was just wondering the same thing. I don't want earballs.
I can't remember the movie that came from, but there was a movie where it was like, or TV shows like. No, maybe it's. I know there's Spaceballs, which is coming back out, and that's a great brand, the Spaceballs brand. That movie has not been. I mean, it was like the '80s, and it like everybody's just everybody our age is everybody yours and my age, Phils. Do you remember Spaceballs, Mark? Are you young enough?
Spaceballs. Well, I've never heard of that movie. Of course, I've heard of Spaceballs. May the Schwartz be with you.
There you go. Of course you do. Of course you do. You just studied that when you found out that Phyllis and I were Jewish. Come on.
That's true. That's true. That's what it was. I was like, oh, what do Jews watch? Yeah, what do Jews watch? Oh, Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
That's
yeah.
right.
That's it. No.
Hi there, and welcome to the complexity of toilet paper, otherwise known as the complexity of toilet paper.
Thank you.
My name is Al Emmerich.
I'm still Mark Pollock.
And I am Phyllis Martin.
The one and only Phyllis Martin, speaking of melodious tones. And I opened the show the way I did with no thought that it was going to be what it was, as is the tradition here, because the only thing that's routine in our lives in this show is the opening, which is pre-recorded. But everything after that, c'est la vie, sucker. You get it between your ears the way we give it. And today we are dishing out a wonderful buffet around the topic of brand. Like when I say brand, Phyllis, what was your favorite brand as a kid?
I don't know. I've never thought of things in terms of brand.
What's the first brand that comes to your mind? Can be anything, food, whatever. First brand that pops into your mind. Mine's Twinkie for some reason right now, and the $6 Million Man. Those are the two things that pop into my head.
Oddly, Kellogg's
You know
cereal.
what I remember?
Oh, what?
Oh, Kellogg. Okay.
Any particular Kellogg cereal?
Well, when I was a child, I loved Raisin Bran. I loved Corn Flakes. I loved...
As a child?
Yes. I also love not Cheerios.
Gosh.
What are those colored things? Fruit Loops.
Okay.
I did not like Count Chocula. I was not a chocolate cereal girl. Also, Rice Krispies. Those were nice. Snap, Crackle, Pop. It tasted funny. I also didn't like Lucky Charms. I don't like those marshmallows floating in my cereal. But do you know what I liked
They're magically
when I was...
delicious. Are you kidding me?
And then when I was older, I liked Apple Jacks. Oh. Yes, Apple Jacks.
Apple Jacks,
I'm not
yes.
done. Wait, Apple Jacks.
Corn Pops?
No, I didn't like that
Corn
at all.
Pops?
No. And then when my mom got into her like granola phase, she made us eat just bran, like bran cereal, not even Raisin Bran, just like bran.
It was so cheap they forgot the D.
Just yes, that's exactly right.
I'm here all week. Try that.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the brand.
The brand,
Like Kellogg's,
brand.
brand.
I was.
But Mark, you were going to say
Okay, well.
something way more interesting, I'm sure.
Probably not. When he said brand and the first brand that came to mind, I actually saw a box at Publix the other day that said Entenmann's, and I remember going with my grandmother.
Yes.
They actually had an Entenmann's store.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And you could go and you could buy day-old bread.
Yes.
And you could get cookies and other pastries at the Entenmann's store.
So I don't know if they had these in Florida, but in New York, they had Freihofer's chocolate chip cookies, and they were the best. They came in a box, and they were ridiculously delicious. So my grandma Sadie would get boxes of them, and like all the grandkids would get boxes of Freihofer's chocolate chip cookies. Delicious.
Freihofer's.
But is that really
good.
a brand, or are those the cookies? Like that's the name of the cookie and the manufacturer.
And thus, ladies and gentlemen, Phyllis brings us around to a very, very important question. Most of us don't want to think of ourselves as a brand. This show, is it a brand? You have your own brand. Hey, listen. We want to be known, trusted, and understood, but whether we like it or not, you two know people are still constantly forming impressions of us. And oh, by the way, if you didn't care about that, you wouldn't have been nervous in the very beginning and all that kind of stuff of the show, Phyllis.
We'll get into it.
We would have been not worried about her. Mark, you wouldn't have been worried about, like, do I sound too radio? And I would have been, whatever. So there's this whole concept. And Phyllis, we got to give props to Phyllis.
Always.
Because Phyllis, anything that we ever do is really...
it's because of me. If it's good. If it's bad, it's because of them.
Why are we always giving props to Phyllis?
She's great.
Because she deserves it.
Okay. That's
I'm
probably
just
true.
kidding. Mark, you always
It's her
get the
brand.
mic drop. You get the mic drop.
Well, that's it. I don't know. Recently, it's been kind of taken away from me, but that's cool.
We'll give it back to you today to
Okay.
make you feel
Anyway.
I don't want it.
better.
So here's the question.
Tainted now.
Here's the question. For once, I'm getting us back on track.
Oh my
here,
God!
which is-
If you know it's bad if Al's getting us on track. Okay.
The
okay.
shit's hit
Come
the
on,
fan
boss.
if I'm going, hey, let's get back in the lane. No, joking aside, though, Phyllis, you posed, whether it was you or AI, I'm just going to give it to you. Can branding outrun reality?
Yes.
Like, that is a
Thanks, Mark.
freaking, like, who asks that question? Which is part of the reason that we're all screwed in the head and have this show running now for 3,000 what feels like 3,000, but I think it's like 35, 37, 39 episodes, whatever it is, because we ask the complexifying questions. And so can branding outrun reality? And so, joking or not, think about some of the shows we've done. We've had recruiting on this show. We've had MS, diabetes. Everything can be said to have a brand because whether we like it or not, people are paying attention and they form impressions quickly, whether it's employers, colleagues, friends. But what are they responding to? What are they making these decisions? Is it our reputation? Is it our character, our personal brand, or simply how visible we are? And I think, we're not going to understand it and unpack everything, but we wanted to tap into this because this will be probably another one of those multi-layered shows. So Phil, you pulled some pretty good statistics.
You're okay.
In your research. Do you want to reference that or shall I?
You feel free. You're doing great. I'm cheering you on.
Do I have two co-hosts on this show?
Yeah.
There's gonna be regular Phyllisisms coming up. Can't wait. But you can keep going. Would you mind keeping going?
Keeping going.
Keep
I will
on.
keep going. Yes.
Keeping going.
Keep on going.
Keep
All
on
right.
with the keeping on.
Keep on.
So LinkedIn, probably one of the most visible names for branding, especially around the workforce, right? A 2025 recruiting industry summary, and I'm quoting this, so forgive me if it sounds quoted, reported that 95% of active recruiters use LinkedIn daily to scout candidates. This is an industry report. Okay. You've also got some other statistics that LinkedIn reported. The number of talent professionals who use LinkedIn to develop AI literacy skills has more than doubled in the last 12 months and are actively using AI to self-enable their brand, both from a search standpoint as well as from a candidate standpoint. And then, of course, there's the world of the brands that we see on social media, Instagram, X, whatever, God, I cannot believe I'm forgetting the most popular video brand.
Twitter, TikTok.
No, TikTok. Thank you. Good God, I'm getting old.
Wow.
All of these are repositories for people developing, quote unquote, what most would say is a persona, a brand, right? So
that's all it is.
Because people are making decisions based on this perception. Do they trust you? Do they want to hire you? Do they like your blog and then they want to recommend you? Do they support you? This podcast, do they listen to us? Okay, all right. So all of that is the lengthy framework to ask the question that Phyllis planted in front of us, and that is what we're going to unpack tonight, which is that impression a reputation, a personal brand, a collection of characteristics, or some combination of all three? And let's just go where we are. Let's start there, Mark.
Can I kind of want to call something out though, because in all of that, it is a person. I do believe that it is a brand conversation, but it's also an honesty conversation. Like, I feel like a lot of these quote unquote personal brands that are being put out there aren't even real, right? It is a stylized moment in time of these impressions. So I guess for me, to answer Phyllis's question that she put out here, I would say that it's a combination of all three. I would add that it's a collection of your content as well. So it's an impression of you. It's the personal brand is the outcome, I think. And it's a collection. I agree, but how do I word this? It is a combination of all three, but I don't think it's those three. I think it is three things. I think when you think of brand on social media, or the brand that you're putting out in social media, if that's what you're talking about, no,
wait,
Phyllis, you want to just interrupt me?
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you because I want to take it out of the social media space. That's a whole other show for a whole other day. This is really about personal branding.
Good point.
And Mark, I'm 100,000% with you, and I was dying to hear where you were going to go with that, because I'm not so sure what you're saying isn't also true for personal branding.
Right.
Yep.
But I do want to. I'm just going to steer us in a different direction because social media.
No,
is
I'm glad that you did, because that's a whole nother thing. And
because this show, each of us is doing this long enough. We're comfortable enough that we have established what I would say would be a combination of those three things, Phil, which is a personal brand, right? They know, like, kindness, funniness, reliability, creativity. There's the reputation piece, Phyllis follows through. Mark, there's an internal brand. We have an internal brand as individuals for the three of us, the way we do this show.
Can I start somewhere though? What is a brand?
This is where I want to start.
Yeah. Because we keep talking about, personal brand, but what is the definition of brand? So we know of a company, we talked about earlier, Entenmann's, Kellogg's, whatever. That's a company. But what is a brand? To me, I think there's some complexity around what that is, because we associate a company with a brand or a person. We're trying to say a person is a brand or has branding with them. But I think that's different. That's a yield.
I think it's the intentional story that people associate with you.
Okay.
When I think about you, Mark, your brand is, to me, is loyalist and truth seeker. Among other things, right?
Yeah.
That's a brand. There are other qualities, and I could do the same thing for Phyllis, but it roots back to me that it's the intentional story that people associate with you.
Yep.
And however they describe it is different.
Yep. So the definition is the deliberate strategic process of shaping how the world perceives you. It communicates your unique combination of skills, experiences, and values, building your reputation and establishing you as an authority in your field if it's going to relate to work. I mean, it could just be, minus that part. And I feel like brand is like brand can be, so can I say it differently? I have like so many thoughts in my head about brand. I think some people are like conniving about their brand. Like they're very, and I'm saying this perhaps not in a good light, right? They think about it. They create a brand. It's not authentic to who they are, but perhaps they think it's going to get them ahead in some strange way. And then I think there are people just like me who people used to say to me, oh, you have to you define your brand. People need to know what your brand are. You can't get ahead if people don't know what your brand are. I always went in the bathroom and threw up over that because just be you, do good work, be yourself, be true to your word, show up when you say you're going to show up, deliver when you say you're going to deliver, period. Like that's your brand if you have to have a brand. And so my supreme what about branding is it in of itself became a thing that I think a certain percentage of the population chased for maybe, I don't even know why. I don't even know why. Because it's become an industry all unto itself.
Well, think about the vehicle though, right? Back in when we were kids, your brand was your word, right? Your handshake is your word.
But we didn't use the word brand.
That you cared.
It just was.
No, I know. That's what I'm getting to. If you go back, and I'm going to use TV, but because it's a reference point only as a timeline, brand became the commonplace in the 50s when the Mad Men and all that, when advertising and television became so popular, because now something could be created and shaped. It could be, and all social media is, all YouTube is, and all of that is just an explosion of what TV was back then. It's a vehicle to go represent something, which has, to your point, I think, shattered the quote unquote realness of people. It's one of the reasons that AI is such a fear in development and proliferation of brands, when in actuality, what we're seeking, and the studies reveal it, most people want authenticity. That's why authenticity gets thrown around like, frickin' air. It's like, oh, I want to be authentic. Well, now people are trying to be authentic, which is stupid, Nikki.
It is also interesting when you think about brand related to humans. I go back to some of the brands that are named after, that we all know, Ford, right? That's one that comes to mind. It's after Henry Ford, right? So his brand is not only his name and who he was, but the car that he built. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing that you bring up as far as it becoming important when advertising became important. And it makes me think of now all the brands that having an 18-year-old and 20-year-old and watching them grow up, the brands they have to own, right? The brands they have to be associated with, the people that they have to be associated with that have brand. right? I associate with this musician. That musician's not just a musician now, it's a brand. I wear a hat with that musician's name on it. I don't know. I think it's just elevated.
Let's go back to what Phil said, though, because we're still, what we want to try to zero in on, and thanks for bringing us back in, Phil, is you as a human being, when you show up, like, for example, if we were to ask 10 people who know you well to describe you, what words would they use, right?
Right.
And would those be the same 10 words you would choose? In other words, you as a human being, are we creating this brand? Do we discover it? Those are two separate questions, but the front center question here is the association of brand to us as human beings and what we do with that. Am I correct, Phil?
I think there is that aspect of it. Like, do you create a brand or over time, do you discover what your brand is if you have to give it a name, right? Or if you have to give it some characteristics that go along with it. The thing I think that makes it complicated in the world that we live in today, even if I remove social media, is around visibility. Because there's a difference between visibility, being seen, being recognized, being noticed over and over and over and over again. But that's different than the things that I think make up a brand, which is your character, your competencies, your reliability, your thoughtfulness, your attitude, your actions, your consistency over time around things. And that's one of the ways to me that this notion of brand gets confusing and overinflated, and I would say sometimes overweighted, even when it comes to things like, they put out the list in communities, 40 over 40. Okay, great. Is that brand? Is that based on brand, or is that really based on somebody who has high visibility, which is different than brand, but they're so highly visible that people say, yeah, that's right. I see them all the time. I see them in the journals. I see them here and there. Therefore, they're going to get recognized. Versus people who have a great brand, great reputations, who just aren't maybe as visible. So this is like where the complexities. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, I think you're right. This is the complexity. So so are we saying a collection of attributes equals a brand, right? Then is that brand just not exposed to people who are quiet and to themselves, or is it only associated with people who are in a spotlight?
No. It's the function of, so the complexity, I'm listening to you guys and now it's kind of coming clear. The complexity is in the function of the word brand, right? Because by the definition that you gave, Phyllis, and by the questions that we've been talking about, a brand is a result of a series of activities and actions. Doesn't matter whether it's Al, Phyllis, Mark, Ford, Kellogg's cereals, it doesn't matter. A brand is a series of actions and activities, and whatever those are, that brand will follow. If you remove the word brand, which is just a function, which is a noun and a verb, I think, the question still remains the same. Do you trust that thing, that person? How do they show up? What do they bring to the world? What do they offer? And do I, as a friend of Phyllis's and Mark, align with that? And what do I associate with that brand? I personally don't want to be called a brand. I was on TV for 3 decades, right? I hated oh, wow, man, your personal brand. I'm like, whoa. And why did that piss me off? Because it felt like I was curating or cultivating something when all I was doing was showing up and being Al. That's revealing in itself for me, because I was in branding. I was in marketing. I was writing commercials, building brands. And yet I didn't like the association of the word brand because it had some icky to it. But guess what? That's the world. But am I an authentic brand? Am I a real brand? And I think going back to your question, Phil, it's still a result, or Mark, whoever asked it, it's still a result of how you show up. It's still a result of the story people associate with you.
I think on the flip side of that, like, there's no like right or wrong here. Like, it's a multitude of things. So I'm just, I'm giving you my perspective and our listeners my perspective, which they may be sick of by now. But I have.
Why are you being so self-effacing
today?
She's just fishing. She's fishing for compliments.
No, really not.
Is that her brand?
Not even. Don't even care. So that would be my brand. No. So like I have worked in a multitude of communities with tons of people and for different people. And I have seen people who have had high brand recognition. I always called them the next photo opportunity waiting to happen, right? They were always the next photo opportunity, on to the next thing. So highly visible, highly seen, a lot of photos all over wherever. Great following, people following them, as in people following leaders, not on social media. Awards, who produced nothing. And after years, eventually, after the peak of the branding, then eventually the truth comes out. And while they're off doing that and getting an inordinate amount of recognition, there are people behind the scenes or who are just not out in the public eye because it's not who they are, doing amazing work with incredible reputations and amazing brands who nobody has ever heard of. And I think therein, like most of the ways that I see the world, like is the tension between the value that we as human beings place on brand, without knowing or experiencing or working with. And I would argue the damage that that can do to communities, to businesses, to relationships, because we have this emphasis on a perception not always rooted in reality. And that's my challenge, and always has been since before I had words to articulate it, with personal branding. And it's not 100% either way, but I think for me, there is some truth to that. And I think there is also some danger in that.
Well, so that brings me back to social media. So I look at the brands that people follow as far as people, right? And they've dug in and associated their own brand with these people who have created a brand for themselves. Whether they're fellow podcasters of ours out there, TV personalities, influencers, they call them now, right? And they associate their brand. They want to be associated to that other person's brand.
Yeah.
And we don't know anything about those people other than what they post online.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the due diligence comes in, like in a world where people don't want to, I'm very, very negative today. I'm so sorry. But like in a world where we tend to, it's so immediate and you have to slow down to do due diligence before either you associate or even say this is like the greatest thing.
So
I
think about our show.
Yeah, the complexity.
Think about our show. Okay. Well, this literally, I mean, I just realized this may be the show that prevents us from ever getting a sponsor. However, all three of us.
Only if there was a courageous company out there. If there was a really courageous toilet paper company, they would do it.
And listen, from the stall to you, our friends and stall mates, we've never really dove into at the point you're listening to the show, we don't have a sponsor. We don't have all that. And part of it's by design. Part of it's just by our own schedules and where we are in the evolution of this podcast. However, without having discussed it in depth, all of us agreed early on, whenever we would look at a sponsor, the superficial level was at, hey, what's associated with the show? What brands, quote unquote, are associated? but not a single one of us would be comfortable associating with a brand that didn't align to our value systems.
So is that a corporate, but are we conflating corporate and personal? Because today's conversation is personal branding.
We are this is.
Right, this
This show is personal to the three of us. This show is, we may never blow this show up, or it could blow up.
Well, we're three separate brands within a brand.
Right. With a shared vision and value around what matters, around complexity, treating people kindly with respect.
Right. But getting back to the personal piece, we each have a brand, and then the show has a brand, which is a collection of our brands.
Yes. And
very complex.
The three of us together.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The three of us together. Well, here you go. Here's a question for you. Here's a question, okay? Would you rather this show be widely known?
Yes.
Or trusted?
Both.
Got to pick one. Would you rather we be in 10 million ears, or would you rather us be in 10,000 trusted by 10,000 people?
I know that's a kind of a loaded question, because I know what our brand is. And if we were to have 10,000 or 10 million, it's based in trust. So it would be hard to separate the two for us, because our brand is built in authenticity and trust. So I don't know how to separate that.
What if what if through sponsorship we get through other channels, but we have to sacrifice some of the show?
That's selling out. I'm not going to sell out.
So isn't that a reflection of brand?
I think that's a reflection of a portion of brand, right? I wouldn't say so I think that's where I was struggling in the beginning of this call. We're saying a collection of attributes equals a brand. My attribute of not wanting to sell out and change who I am is not my brand, but it is an element of my attributes which equal my brand, right? And so I think that's what we don't think about a lot, is it's a lot of the little, and you were articulating that earlier, which is where the complexity comes in. It's all the little things that equal the brand. It's not one thing. It's not that I can be trusted. That's not my brand. My brand is all of the things all the other things that come with that. So I don't think you can separate those things. So I wouldn't know how to answer that question.
By the way, Phyllis, we need to remind Mark that he's on a podcast, not a Zoom call.
Why?
That's why.
I did hear it, and I was like, bless his heart.
Yeah.
What?
You were like, on this call. I was getting ready for this call.
On this call.
Well, I have been on the phone on Teams meetings since 8:30 this morning. So
that's why I didn't say it.
It's hard to flip that over. And, I was still on my day job.
Oh, you definitely got the cute stick for that.
Oh.
So, Phil, what's your response to that? Rather be known by everyone or trusted by everyone?
I would rather be trusted by everyone if I had to make a decision than known by everyone. But I don't think that would shock anybody.
Not at all.
I mean, if I have to choose.
But how much money are we talking about? No, I'm kidding.
Mark.
I mean, since it's we're just kind of talking.
It's hard.
Just out there. I'm just curious what number you were actually. No, I'm kidding. I really am kidding.
No, well,
I think there's like a back
we
end.
Could go.
Of that sentence. Like, would you rather be trusted or would you rather be known? I would rather. I think it's like, if known means known for something other than who we are as this podcast, then the answer is always trusted.
Absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if it's known for who we are, then yippee-yi-yay. But only if that means we're trusted too. And I feel like those equated are together.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think we need to give cut brand some slack, okay? And here's why. So brands are established there's intentional brand, and then there's the unintentional consequences of a brand. Here's a perfect example. At the time that we're recording this show, Odyssey has just come out. The film Odyssey, Christopher Nolan, right? And there are actors in this movie. The film itself is epic because it's Christopher Nolan, and the film has a brand associated with it. The director has. They're not unlike what you said, Mark. Right? It is a sum of a number of different individual brands. Somebody may not like Matt Damon in that movie, and that could quote unquote affect his brand if people say, "Oh wow, he didn't do well." You know, actors do it all the time. They do a role and it doesn't pan out for them, or they shift. Like Post Malone. Post Malone pissed off a lot of fans who didn't like that he quote unquote branded as a country star, right? And so, but that doesn't mean the person isn't a great quality person. And I'm sure he has his own, and all of these people have their own brand on a personal level. That is, maybe they're wonderful, wonderful people, but we associate the brand with what we see. And our hope is, what's the one question we always ask when we see a movie star? Like, oh, are they like that in real life? Because we want to associate that brand with values that we like. That was the long way of getting back to, I still believe that brand is just kind of like this word umbrella. But the best way to show up is to be yourself. And what's happened is that brand has been corrupted because of the way the world is, from politics to arts, music, all that. But the brand that matters for me is what people that people trust me. That if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. That I'm going to show up. That people know that they can count on Al.
Well, I think that goes back to intentionality, which was a conversation we had earlier. But
do you curate that, or does it just happen naturally, or are you just aware of it? Because you can't make that happen. It has to be you, and you have to intentionally.
I think you have to be aware.
Yes,
I mean, I think there is intentionality that goes with that. I think you have to think about it. I mean,
maybe it's why you have to think about it. That makes the difference.
Don't you have to think about who you want to be and who shows up every day? Like, I think about the fact that, I try to be positive even in negative situations, because who wants to be around negative people, right? So that's an intentional decision that I have to make every day, and that impacts my brand. I want to do things that are trusted. That's intentional, because it's a whole lot easier to do whatever. So I think there has to be intentionality in your brand, even if it's to do the wrong thing. That to me seems intentional, or has to be intentional. But Phyllis, you put in something that was really interesting in here, as far as is it brand or oh, now I can't find it. And maybe we already passed it, but brand versus reputation and the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Have we already passed that portion of this?
I think we're
we're talking around it.
Yeah, I feel like we are talking around it, because I think there's you have characteristics, you have competencies, you have that feed your reputation, right? That feed how you show up. I feel like brand is the name we give it. We call this thing, well, this is your brand.
Yes.
It's the combination of characteristics and competencies and experiences and how you show up and performance. It doesn't have to be work performance, just like performance. And then we boil it down to 3 words, and we say Phyllis's brand is this. And I think what I was saying before, this is really helpful conversation for me. I don't know about for anybody else. I think when that intersects with things that can help forward or further career or popularity for some variety of reasons, then it becomes something else to me. If you have to do that to demonstrate worthiness, to get a promotion, or to be noticed, that's when it feels icky to me.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Why would promoting your brand and your skills and competence be icky to you?
Because it's just not how I interface with the world. Like, I show up every day. I do a good job. I try to treat people fairly. To your point, like, I wish I could say I don't always show up negatively, but sometimes I'm negative. Like all of those things. I'm not a human, like none of us is perfect. I just don't feel the need to promote that. To what end? If I'm in the workplace and I have people who work for me and I'm looking and if I'm a good boss, I can see it. I can experience it. I can know it. Why do I have to promote it? But why?
Well, let me give you an example of maybe why. We have someone on this podcast that is a keynote speaker. Right?
Who dat?
And so his role, while you and I have seen him speak, Al, you're going to have to promote your brand, right? As a keynote speaker, you're going to have to be able to demonstrate your skills and your attributes in a form or fashion to say, my brand is a professional keynote speaker.
Great.
No, that's what I do. So I think the difference there is the brand. There is a duopoly, that's the right word. Is
that a word?
So there's this is why I said we got to give the word brand a break, because there's the brand that is the product.
Okay.
But then there is the brand that is the reflection of that. And I feel like we've said this a couple of different ways, and it's worth stating. Seth Godin is one of the greatest marketing minds in the history of our generation. And he's highly regarded as one of those just brilliant brand marketing guides. And he puts it this way, and this is kind of the sum of what we've been saying. His definition of brand is about the promises you make and the expectations you build. And for an individual, quote, your brand is the sum of your actions, your consistency, and the emotional resonances you leave behind. Right? And so if my brand as a speaker is that I speak on human value, but the brand that supports that is why people are going to hire me. Right? They're going to get a feeling. They're going to see functionally he can do this thing, but it's the brand that's going to do that. People are going to listen to this show because they like Mark. Maybe they don't. They love Phyllis. They don't love Al, whatever. But there's something in this show that's part of the brand soup that they like, that they're drawn to. There's an element and a component of it. And so the brand is the sum of the parts. I think what you're saying, Phyllis, is if you go about trying to curate something that's not true, that's when it's bad. I think the icky you've experienced is when it's not well intended. Because I don't think Phyllis is saying, and Phyllis will shut me down. Phyllis isn't saying, hey, don't go out and promote yourself. Hey, we got to go promote the show. But if you're trying to create something that's a false reality and you're harming others or not being true, and you're just doing it just to do it and not with the well intention, then that's the nasty part of it. Am I right on that? Am I in the neighborhood, Phil?
Yes. And again, I just want to say, this is the complexity of personal branding, because everybody comes to it from a different perspective, and what works for me isn't going to work for somebody else. So I get it. I just think it's icky when it turns into, I can remember people saying to me, you have to promote your brand. I do not have to do any such thing. To what end? And that was my situation at that moment in time, at that point in time. And I kind of still feel that way, obviously.
Mark, I'm going to go off the reservation here, but if I want to think back to, and this shut me down right away if this does not connect, but we did an episode a while back on AI. Mm-hmm. And Mark, remember, Phil had an issue with the intentional use of AI, whether, from the good or bad side. And you and I were like, no, it's like a gun. It depends on the hand of the user. I think brand is the same way. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
It's the hand of the user. It's like, what are you doing with that? Because there's the functional side of the brand.
Yeah.
And then there's the foundational side.
Yeah.
The functional side is the shit that we see that gets spewed out, and you go, yeah, is that person really that? No, it's somebody that's made it up. And the foundational side is the heart, soul, core. It's the authenticity. Dare I say that word?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm brought to a conversation that actually the actor Jim Carrey was talking about when he was talking about his bout with depression, and that every character that he's ever played, including Jim Carrey, was an avatar. And he was just tired of holding up that fake persona. So I guess when you come down to it, the brand that he had created wasn't real and therefore exhausted him because it wasn't authentic.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and he speaks so eloquently about it in so many different. He's really wow. I'm glad you channeled that.
I think we've done a good job talking about the complexity of this. Like, there's so much complexity in it.
Yeah, there really is. There really is.
So, boy, that was a lot of sounds that did not do anything. Can I state that for the record? That was noises that came from my mouth and throat. So when you take the sum of this conversation for the last 45 minutes or whatever, what is, and I'm not even going to enter the stall on this, we'll keep it real. What is one thought that you're going to internalize from this and ponder a little more deeply for you? And the second part is for others. Like, so when you look at your personal brand, because as Phil has said, that's what this was about. What's something you're going to maybe reconsider or think about as it relates to your brand? And then the second part of that is, has anything been triggered, if not great, or promoted in your brain to think about how you view other people's personal brand? Like, this has made me think about some things about like people that I maybe didn't cut some slack to, or that I did cut slack to because of the brand. But was it the brand, or was it that's just who that person is? Anyway, maybe that's too many questions. Maybe we just close with the first one. Like, what is something about your brand or something about you that you're going to consider, especially you, Phil, because you opened up this whole can.
That's when you jump in, Phyllis.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I needed that. My brand includes slow to respond.
And I want to remind you, that your evolving brand, if we're following the narrative that we've been discussing, forget the time that I've known you, just since this show launched, your brand. Here's my question. Scratch it. If you were to step away,
suck it. Just kidding.
If you were to ask others to define your brand for the show as as one of the three stallmates, what do you think people would define? How do you think they'd define your brand?
I have to reflect on that, Al, because I don't give it that much thought, to be honest with you. I would really have to reflect on that.
Yeah,
Truthful, if nothing else.
I'll go back to your first question. I'd rather go back to your first question because I don't. For me, I have to think about what this show has triggered, which I liked your first question, is that I have always thought about this as my attributes, the collection of things that I bring to the table. I have always associated a product with a brand. So I myself, I've not ever really thought of as a product, an employee, a candidate for a job, all of these things. And I think what this has triggered for me is to think back through of what I would actually name my brand, because I don't think it's pulling out one of the attributes I've put in that collection of things. I think I've got to turn around and look at that collection of things that have evolved over my lifespan and say, what do I name that?
You get the mic drop.
That's
Mark.
where I am with that.
And you do get the mic
I don't know
drop.
that's a mic drop.
It is a mic drop.
Really?
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
man,
because
'cause I
who
was
would
gonna
think
roll
about
out.
that? Like, who would think
That's a
to
good
say
point.
that other than Mark?
But you haven't given your brand thing. Oh, you need to think about it. Okay, I'll just have to hold on to mine.
Yeah, I got nothing. Well, you could answer the question.
Okay, Mark, I'm going to still answer the question, but you get the mic drop.
Well, you got to move closer to your mic because I can't hear you.
Oh, I was all relaxed. I was like drinking Mai Tais, listening to Mark. You know what? I've never actually had a Mai Tai, and I don't even know it.
I don't.
Anyway, I know my brand, and my brand is loyalty.
No, I think that's an attribute of who you are. I think you are a loyal person. I don't think that's your brand. That's why I'm.
Did you just kick my brand to the
No,
curb?
I think. But see, you are not. Your entire collection of attributes is not loyalty. That's not your brand. That's an
You're right.
attribute.
Maybe that's a
of your
value.
brand.
Well, no, it's a core value.
That's
actually.
fine. It could be a core value, it could be an attribute, but I don't think that's why I'm saying I think you've got to turn around and go, okay, well, I'm loyal, I'm funny, I'm creative, I'm this, I'm that.
Yes,
I'm handsome, funny looking. But then that's got to culminate into something, right? So you can't tell me your brand's loyalty. That's not a brand.
I am loving where we're landing on this, Mark.
Yeah, because this is like I don't know that I agree with you. All right, so here's what we're gonna do.
That's awesome. Good.
Oh, piss off on my brand. You know what
that's
we're gonna
stupid.
do? All right, I can't promise it, but I hope it's gonna happen. There is an incredible person who literally spends her entire career and has helped I don't know how many ever people bring their own brands to life, and I want to get her in the studio with us as a follow-up to this. I mean, because we've had some great shows we did the show on giving. We had Russell talking about brand. I mean, what he's doing in the community. Wow. Okay. That was definitely a good mic drop. And I thank the fact that you just pushed me aside and told me you're wrong, Al.
Yep.
Was beautiful.
Love you.
Hey,
You're wrong.
Phyllis,
Yes.
your brand right now is going to come into flowering fruition because it's your turn to close the show. Go.
Do I have to? Well, then, this is the complexity of toilet paper.
Did you say toilet paper?
Everything complicated. One big medieval mess.
I'm overthinking. I'm overthinking.
Is there more?